Hi, my name is Kim and welcome to a new episode of PwC's Casual Side. Today we will talk to Olivia, who works in our advisory department and is what we at PwC call a new joiner because she started working here only 8 months ago. We will talk about her final year at university and her onboarding process at PwC, which both took place during the COVID-19 pandemic. You'll hear her first-hand experience about joining the workforce in a mostly virtual environment and how we stay connected to our PwC people. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hello Olivia, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You're actually the first one asking me this question during all our podcast episodes. So thanks for joining us today. You're quite new here at PwC Luxembourg. If I'm correct, you joined PwC in September 2020 in the consulting department?
Exactly. So I started my internship in September 2020. I started working in the advisory sector for the financial services with a specialization in sustainable finance. And it's been about 2 months now that I'm full-time employed.
Mm-hmm. And everything is going well so far?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I really like the ambience. I love the team. It's very fun to work with them. I've had a great pleasure so far.
And could you tell me a little bit more about your background? So what have you studied? Where are you from? How did you come to Luxembourg?
Well, ironically, I'm from Luxembourg.
Okay.
So I decided to come back here. I think initially it was, first of all, the opportunity, but also due to the pandemic, I felt like that was also the best option to be back home. And
when you say back, where have you been before?
So I studied in the Netherlands. I did my bachelor there in international business, so that's my background. So the reason I came back to Luxembourg was, of course, this opportunity at PwC. So basically how it happened was that at my university, I studied in Maastricht. We had a workshop with the company and they gave us a case that we had to prepare. And
just one question. When you say there was a case competition you had to prepare, it was last year?
This was in 2019, so quite a while ago.
Okay.
This
so
was in
not
November
during COVID? Okay.
No.
But you studied during COVID?
Yes, but that was in my last semester when I was meant to be abroad, but that got abruptly cut then because
Right.
I was in Paris for my exchange, but Paris wasn't the best place to be in during the pandemic, especially on like 15 square meters. I didn't feel comfortable with staying there.
Totally understandable, yes.
Yeah. So
one
I
of the
decided to come back
for
home.
all the students, yes.
Of course, yeah. Especially in Paris, you can't really go out. Like, I mean, if you're in your apartment and there's a couvre-feu, like curfew, then you can't really do much. Yes. You can just stay in your apartment.
And then, as you said, so it was in Maastricht back in the days in 2019
exactly.
when you first heard about PwC, or already knew about PwC?
I already knew about PwC, and I had, because basically how it works is we have this thing called the Maastricht Business Days, and this is where they invite like a bunch of companies, and you can send in your CV, and then they choose some profiles that can then attend either workshops, interviews, or presentations. And I got lucky to participate in the workshop, and then later on I got into conversation with one of the recruiters, who then later messaged me on LinkedIn and then asked me if I was interested in joining PwC, and I'm really happy I did. It's been a really good experience so far.
Great. But what, I mean, you've mentioned like during your studies you found out about PwC Luxembourg. You are from Luxembourg, because the question I always ask is like, why did you come to Luxembourg? Luxembourg is such a tiny country. In your case, it's not the question because I mean you're originally from Luxembourg.
Yeah.
But why did you what was your main decision once you finished your studies? So you mentioned you were in Paris afterwards then, I guess for your master's studies?
No, for my exchange. I have not done my master's yet, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
So for your exchange, you decided to go to Paris. Then the lockdown situation came.
Exactly.
But what made you to take the decision on I want to join PwC?
So I think the main reason why I wanted to join PwC was consulting. Because I liked the idea of it, and of course I hadn't seen it in practice, and so I'm really grateful for this opportunity because I got to see a sector that I had an idea of, but of course it's always different to your expectations, and I really like the fact that you interact with so many people. It's a very social job, let's say. Interact with clients, have, especially the team spirit. I really like the fact that you work in a team, and also in several languages, especially here in Luxembourg, you work in several languages, and I really enjoy that and the human interaction. So that's one of the main reasons. It's the sector, yeah.
And when we come back to the point of human interactions, which is quite an interesting one currently in the current circumstances, how is it going on? So is it all virtual for you, your experience here, maybe your day-to-day work, really just your day-to-day work? How can you express, how is it for you?
It's partially virtual. I'm really lucky that most of my team decides to come to the office every now and then, so we can also have meetings in our meeting rooms. But of course,
under sanitary restrictions,
yes,
maybe here,
of course,
just to mention that,
being conform with the regulations, of course. But I mean, the virtual interaction is of course part of my everyday job, especially with people working in other countries. It's the most convenient, So in that sense, I feel like the virtual interaction has also made it more convenient for people working in these jobs, because you don't have to necessarily travel to those places. It's more time efficient in that sense. But of course, it's also kind of sad that you don't get to actually meet the people in person and have that human connection, which I think is quite important, especially in the sector. But I would say that I'm really lucky that my team comes to the office every now and then, because I really enjoy working with them again, and it's nice to have them around. It's a lot more efficient also in terms of exchanging information. Whenever I have a question, I can just go up to somebody and ask them, and I don't have to call them up or wait for them to get out of a meeting. It's a lot more convenient, of course, when people are in the office, especially when you're at the start of your career or at the start of your internship. You want to learn so much, and I feel like it's a lot harder to pick up everything that's going on when you're at home and not actually experiencing the proper interaction and how things work. So I definitely say that
we'll come in a second to this onboarding experience and learning experience, which I find quite interesting as well and challenging. But maybe coming back, referring to studies, end of studies, almost finishing studies. Did you participate in any virtual events, job fairs, anything where you would say, yes, I did? If you did, would you say it was great, it was a horrible experience? I don't know, anything you would like to share with us?
I mean, the last semester was fully online, and to be fair, it wasn't the best. I mean, I was just sat at home in front of my laptop the whole day. It got tiring. I think it can be quite tiring, especially the tutorials that we had, I felt weren't as interactive, because people would usually, have their cameras off. Some tutors insisted on having them on, but a lot of the times people would just have them off. And then I feel like the interaction was quite rigid. I didn't enjoy it that much. I definitely like classes in person better. I think the only advantage this had was that I could sleep in and just wake up 10 minutes before my class. I think that was...
In your PJs, pyjamas?
In my pyjamas, just throw on something that looks all right. If I have to turn on the camera for the rest, stay in my... I think everyone did that. So
how did you feel? What is it? Did you feel frustrated? Were you afraid of finding a job, your future? What was going on? Because... I can imagine, I have finished my studies some time ago, but I can imagine there's so many thoughts coming up for a student when you want to finish your studies, find a career, find your first job. This is like a big step.
Yeah. I mean, the idea for me was to use this year as a year where I can just gather professional experience. My plan initially was going back into my master's after this year. But things just turned out differently, and I decided to stay here because I feel like I'm not done with my learning process here.
Okay.
And I'm gaining so much good experience here that I really just want to stay here. But I would definitely say that it was a bit frustrating at first that the end of my semester had to be all online, and I didn't get to celebrate the end of my, student experience, not have a graduation or just an online graduation. I think that was a bit upsetting. And then, of course, getting into the job market is something that can be scary. Therefore, I'm really lucky that I got this opportunity. I had thankfully already planned this in advance for me to know this is my next step.
Yes.
But after this, you know, I wanted to be more flexible and tell myself, okay, I'm open for any opportunities, which I'm happy I did, because like this, this permitted me, of course, to stay. But I'd definitely say that it's weird, you know, kind of merging into this like professional role now.
In general, it is a weird thing, because your life changes. Of course, completely.
And you question, you know, like what is it you actually want to do in life?
Exactly.
You know, these questions come up, especially with quite a general bachelor that I did. I mean, international business is quite broad. I had an idea of where I wanted to go, but I wasn't 100% sure if this is the sector I wanted to go into, which is also why I'm happy that I got into PwC, because here you have several sectors, and especially as an intern, you also get the opportunity of getting a taste of the different sectors. And so that was really nice.
And in terms of your mental health, did you see anything what quite astonished you for yourself in terms of your health situation during this pandemic, final graduation year, finding a job?
So I think,
like having a lot of pressure, for example.
I think at first I took it quite lightly. I thought the pandemic wasn't going to last as long. I think nobody expected it to last as long.
Did not, yeah.
So when I was having online classes and all that, I thought, yeah, this is just temporary. It's fine. After that, life will go on. It's going to be okay. And then after I realized that's not the case, of course, that kind of puts a mental burden on you. I'd say that I'm quite a positive person myself, so it hasn't impacted me as much as it might have impacted other people. I think it's had an impact on everyone, of course. But I tried making most of it and spending time with the people that, you know, matter to me. And also that's why I chose to come to the office, because, I mean, as a new joiner, luckily you get to choose whether you want to come to the office or not. You get to come whenever you want. And I really made use of that. And honestly, like separating this like work and personal life helped me a lot. I think that's really important to give yourself, especially like different physical spaces, you know, like when you study, that you don't necessarily study just in your room, because that's also the place where you sleep and relax. So I feel like it's really important for you to have different like spaces where you allocate those different things to. And so that's also why I chose to come to work, because I felt like I needed to separate, you know, my work life and my personal life in order to have what they call a work-life balance. And during your times in Maastricht,
you had the possibility to have your room, because you said everything was virtual, or you were here in Luxembourg,
I
guess?
was here in Luxembourg,
yes,
exactly.
Okay.
No, thankfully I was at my parents' house.
In your surroundings of other students, did you have any experiences which were shared with you?
I think most of my friends went back home and had more or less the same situation. And I think living with your parents and having several rooms, you know, like a living room, like not in a studio where you just have one room. Like right now I live in a studio, and I don't think I could do home office for a longer period of time. Maybe a day, but after that gets too much. Like I think it's too little space.
And when we come back to the onboarding experience, you gave us like a tiny hint on what it is here to work for now in the current circumstances.
Yeah.
But when you joined, like back in September 2020, like we had to rethink all our business models. We had to go virtual, to do even a virtual onboarding. How was this experience for you when you joined PwC?
So I was lucky to be onboarded in physical. Basically, I mean, it was partially online, partially in presence.
What was online?
It was, all the like trainings and so on.
And on site?
Like basically you come here and then you pick up your stuff and then they tell you to go home.
What is your stuff exactly? Like
your IT, like
equipment,
the assets,
all the equipment.
Exactly.
Yes,
the whole equipment, the IT.
So you picked up the equipment, you went home, and then you got all the virtual trainings, dedicated programs you had to absorb.
That's usually how it goes about. In my case, I was picked up by a senior associate and my manager, and they showed me around the office space and introduced me to a few people, which was really nice. And in September it was also bit more crowded in the office as to now. Like, I feel like now when you get onboarded, it's a bit emptier. But in September, the COVID situation in Luxembourg wasn't as bad, so people would still come to the office a lot more. And therefore I got to meet quite a few people on my first day, and also decided to stay in the office. And
you were quite luckily, yes, it was, I think, as from November then when it turned like to be almost completely locked down again, where we had to go home.
Yes.
Yeah, so you joined the right moment and the right time.
Yeah, I still got to get
Great.
that experience.
And you mentioning, so you're coming several times as much as you can to the office.
Yes.
To join your team, to work together, to collaborate, to have human interaction. You mentioned this point as well. What is your team doing in terms of human interactions? How do they ensure that there's human interaction within their team?
I mean, it goes about quite naturally because we all get along very well. So working with these people is not necessarily something that needs to be ensured. It just happens organically, I'd say. We grab lunch every now and then. We have team meetings. We have some events also that bring us together.
But all of this, is this virtual? Is this on site?
Oh no, this is on site. Yes,
everything.
Yeah.
When you say events, what kind of events are those?
I mean, the other day our partner organized to thank us for, being, efficient in our work, I guess. He basically, because we had done pretty well on the projects that we had onboarded. He organized a lunch outside, which was really nice. Of course, also being conform with
all the restrictions. Yes.
But it was nice to have a little event like that. And I can imagine that it's probably a lot nicer during non-COVID times when you get to enjoy.
For sure, yes.
Things I heard that the Christmas party is really good here.
Yes.
Everyone's been telling me about how I'm missing out on that, but hopefully I'll get to experience it this year, maybe.
Yeah, we hope so, but we don't know yet.
No, yeah, but so and all these events that are outside of work. I mean, also I heard that the bar usually is open downstairs after 5 o'clock.
But I mean, I guess it just, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess not all of your team members can be at the same time at the office.
I mean, it depends. You have to book a spot, right? That's how it works. You book a spot and then see what availabilities there are. And I mean, not the whole team is always there, but there's always a few members.
Because my point here is I really would like to understand what your team is doing in terms of, for those who are not on site, how to stay even human, interactive, and to ensure that within the whole team, as you mentioned, okay, there are these cool events, we have some lunches, we have some conversations, but how are you feeling it when you're not on site? How can we ensure or guarantee that we have a human interaction, even if you're not in the office, and what your team is doing there?
I mean, we're quite in touch always, so we just call each other or have a Google Meet and turn on our cameras to see each other, but I'd say we have a quite spontaneous interaction as well.
Okay.
So if we just had a meeting and we want to debrief on something, we'll just call each other to ensure that
so it's a very easy way of communication.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And do you think that your work experience is restricted due to COVID-19?
I think the whole experience is for sure restricted. I mean, as I just mentioned, the parties that usually get organized, or the trips also that get organized here, it's a bit of a shame that we don't get to take part in this at the moment, but I'm sure I'll come back, and I hope that I'll still be here to experience all these events and these trips. But I'd definitely say it's been quite restricting, of course.
And in terms of your daily tasks that you're doing on your job?
Not so much, no. I feel like, the work that I do within the group, when we work together, we either, we're either on site and then we communicate directly, or we just call each other. But other than that, the work that I need to do is on my laptop, so I can do that from anywhere, basically. But it's definitely been restricting.
So you think for in the future this flexible workplace situation could be a model?
Oh, I definitely think so, yeah. I know of other companies that have already that are already talking about, implementing this as a concept or as a model, future perspective, or making it a 50% work at home. And I mean, also this like booking system, I think will become, the norm in the future. I can see that happening for sure. For people to be more flexible or even be at home with their families, I think it's a nice concept, because some people do like working from home or enjoy that better, or feel like they're more focused at home, whereas other people prefer coming to the office. So it's nice, to have that choice, and I'm sure that they're going to have that. I mean, I can imagine this would become a norm in the future.
And so you're looking forward to do your master's, if I'm correct? Yes? Yes, okay.
Ideally.
Why? I mean, like, under normal circumstances, if we would not have had COVID, you said you would first of all finish your master and then look for a job. Now you've made a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, would you say, or would you recommend, do just your bachelor's, start working, and then you do your master's? Or would you just say, like, no, do your master's, that's it, and then, like, has there been a shift in your mind?
Definitely. It has. There has been a shift in my mind. I feel like if I can give any advice to someone, it'd be to first gain some professional experience, see what you're actually interested in, see what all the stuff that you learned in theory at university in your bachelor's is actually like in practice. And then you can always decide where you want to specialize in. But right now, I'd definitely say working is the way to go to make, your choices for the
So you do understand yourself better in terms of where you would like to evolve?
I definitely understood about myself where my preferences are, and I think that really helps when you get into, even if it's just a traineeship, even if it's just a few internships here and there, I think it's just very helpful to figure out where you want to be in life. And I think a master is maybe not as useful if you have no foundation in this topic whatsoever. I think it's good to have this like practical background a little bit to then understand, oh, this is how I apply these things in practice. It'll help you to, I think, also, leverage all those skills in your master. Definitely.
Great. And I have just one final question for you today. So is there anything you would like to recommend to young graduates, young professionals who would like to join either PwC or in general another company in terms of career opportunities, life experience, anything you would like to share?
I would definitely recommend students just finishing their bachelor's to get some work experience before they go into their master's. I feel like for me it's been quite helpful, and also for a lot of my friends that have been in the same situation and basically just wanted to bridge the time of the pandemic with an internship. A lot of them now also got into like jobs and have been saying the same thing, and I think that's definitely something that I would recommend. I mean, the job market is pretty tough at the moment, especially with the pandemic. But I definitely recommend also to be open for opportunities. And also, if you might in the beginning think, oh, this is not for me, give it a shot. You might end up somewhere where you did not expect ending up. I mean, I never expected to end up in the healthcare sector. I mean, I started in the financial sector, but I'm really enjoying the healthcare sector, especially because it's so relevant at the moment with the pandemic and everything that's going on. So I'd definitely say, give it a shot. And also, I think what people underestimate is the importance of your soft skills. Because, I mean, your studies give you a good foundation of things, but then when you get into the work sector, you realize that everyone starts at the same point. You all start from zero and build up, your knowledge and all these things. And I think it's really important to understand that building these different soft skills are, I'd say, even more important than, the hard skills that you have. It's a good foundation to have the hard skills, but I think especially in the consulting sector, it's important to have soft skills as well.
Oof, that was a lot of recommendations. Thanks for that. Before I say ciao ciao, as I always do, maybe something in Luxembourgish, because we have you today here. Is there something you would like to say as a last sentence? I just can say adi and moyen, so I'm really bad. And merci.
Genau,
yeah. So thanks a lot for being here today. It was a pleasure. And ciao ciao from my side.
Thank you very much.
That's it for today's episode. If you don't want to miss out on our upcoming stories, hit subscribe, feel free to share, and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening, and see you for the next episode of PwC's Casual Side.